My name is Bonnie B, and you are watching The Power of Perseverance.
Well, Miss Whitney Jones, thank you so much for being on here and sharing your story. I have been following you for actually quite some time. You started your gym at the same time I had started my gym with my ex-husband back in 2009, which is so funny. So I've watched you evolve in the fitness industry, and then just reading more in depth on your story, I was like, oh my gosh, what an incredible journey. One of the things that really hit home with me is you had an injury and you said it gave you so much time to think about what you wanted to do. So to make sure I'm understanding right, were you already competing in fitness when that injury happened, or was just before?
Well, so to be honest, I've had so many injuries. I've literally broken almost every bone, and I've had 18
Oh,
surgeries. So, several, not all of them, but several happened younger. But obviously, because of that, whenever you have injuries, especially if you have to have surgery and it's like kind of a bad one, you
yeah.
have reoccurring injuries that happen as a result. So, um, once I got into this sport, because I was an athlete forever growing up. And so when I got into the sport of fitness competitions, which to be honest, it's like a daredevil sport, right? What we're doing is crazy in our division where we do the 2 minute routines of crazy gymnastics flips. I do breakdancing, which whatever, like why would it's like that seems hard. I think I should try it. So, it's crazy. I'd say every injury has allowed me a time to go, okay, I hate that saying of things happen for a reason. I used to hate it. And now I like actually embrace it and go, all right, so there's a lesson in this. Because you can't change an injury. Once an injury happens, there's nothing you can do about it. Your mind can just go in the garbage, and it's going to make the whole process and the recovery and all that downtime torture. Or you can try to find some silver lining. So it's like, all right, what am I going to learn out of this injury? And I'll be honest, every injury has taught me something new. Not that I want more, knock on wood.
It's almost like it had to slow you down, not to be physical, but it was like, hey, we're trying to connect with you, your mind and your body.
Totally. Yes. So, it happens. But there's gold in those moments where life just punches you in the gut, whether it's an injury, which to be honest, injuries are rough, but there's a lot heavier stuff in life. I mean, you and I connected on a personal level about some pretty heavy things, right?
Really? Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing is like, I have this wish list of people I was like, I would love to meet them. I'd love to meet them. And just knowing now that I've been following you since 2009, right? It took me going to a convention and running into you in the hallway and being like, oh my gosh, I'm a single mom, 2 boys, love fitness. And I really just left our conversation so inspired and reminded that I'm capable of so much by how my mindset is. And that's what you
Yeah.
did for me that day.
Aw. It was so funny because I still remember it clear as day in that hallway. And you're like, Whitney. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. And I'm like, wait, do we know each other? You're like, no, but this is amazing. And we chatted for like 20 minutes. And it's like, that is so fun when you just meet a stranger and it's just instant connection because life has both kind of thrown you guys some crazy stuff where you can connect on a deeper level and we're authentic and our true
Yeah.
self to go, yeah, oh my gosh, this and this, good and bad. Like you said, we both opened up gyms at the same time. And that was a great thing. But then we also experienced some heartache with stuff and some hard stuff in life where we also connected that day. So I just love that. I love always being open. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what opportunities are going to come your way. But we as women have to always keep our eyes open to go, okay, what's around the corner? Because if you think there's good things coming and you put it out there, guess what? It's going to happen.
It's totally going to happen. So when I first started competing forever ago, I did a couple of shows and I had a very limiting belief that I could even do it. And I started in fitness, and fitness was so small at the time. Like nobody did fitness because for the same reason, they were so scared. So I allowed myself to not step up to that level. And I was like, you know what? I'm still going to do it one day. And, watching your stuff, I was like, oh, I love that. going to the show, going to the Arnold, it reignites like something pulling to your heartstrings to keep going for. You know what I mean?
Right. It's always like you never want to have regret. It's like there's always going to be roadblocks, but if
Yeah.
there's a way that you can make it happen safely, strategically, and without sacrificing your main priorities, like your kids or your family, or your health, then make it happen. Make it happen because you never want to have that regret.
No, 100%. Everyone that has met you, girls that train with you, the industry is big, but it's still small, has nothing but positive things to say about you and your gym. And your gym's in Gilbert, Arizona, correct?
Yes, it is.
So
Yeah.
tell us more about what you offer there and, what people can do if they're in that area so we can have them come to you.
Yeah, so it's in Gilbert, which it's about 20 minutes from Phoenix. So it's in the suburbs, Chandler, Gilbert area. And we have a lot of athletes because a lot of people are coming out to Arizona just to get away from the cold sometimes, or, because there's tons of fun things to do here and they just want a quick, easy break. So we have athletes and just friends, family, you name it, drop in all the time. It's crazy because we have this huge graffiti mural and people are like, I want to see that live in person. And we do train a lot of pro athletes. So there's usually one or two that are in town each week. And so you never know the who's who kind of our
You never know.
a lot. So it's great, and again, our gym doesn't just train competitors. Our primary clientele is just the everyday person looking to better their life, get in shape. I mean, we train young kids for sports specific training. We have people that come in because we have a membership as well as personal training. And then we also have clients who are 80 plus that are coming in and working out and getting healthy. So that's our primary target market. We just have this niche of competitors that we train as kind of a specialty, but literally, it's a matter of just opening it up, having the gym, constant inspiration, motivation, men, women, you name it. So that's, one aspect of it. I have 6 businesses now. It's like, what am I thinking? What am I doing? And just opened my 6th this year. They're all fitness related, which is really kind of fun and neat because they all help support one another. But that's what I love. And, the biggest thing, the thing I'm most excited about is the new one because it's stuff that you actually already mentioned.
So tell us about what you're doing. I believe you said it was around mindset and helping people evolve. Yeah.
And so the reason I got into fitness from day one, because I used to be in corporate world. I was in marketing.
Yeah, your bio says it, but let me lead into that because and I think so many women can relate to this. You're sitting behind a desk, you're working in marketing, you're making a great living, but your heartstrings were pulling you to do something more.
Yeah, totally. And I wanted to truly make a difference. Small, big, it didn't matter. I didn't even know, honestly, at that point. But it just felt like I'm sitting here doing amazing, like ad campaigns for big companies, and it was very fulfilling. But I thought, I want to create change. I want to improve somehow. And so, I had been doing personal training out of my house and just for fun, putting friends and family on diets and helping kind of craft workouts just because I love to be active. Then I ended up getting certified just because I thought, oh gosh, do I even know what I'm doing?
Intuitively, it sounds like you were doing a phenomenal job because I think if they weren't getting results.
Yeah. Yes, but I then just started because a lot of my friends were like, hey, I want one. I thought I probably better know. So I got certified. And then I just, there was just this period of time I thought, I need to go in that direction. And it was just pulling me. And so I did. I left this amazing job, making a great living for being younger, and quit and went and got a job making minimum wage at the gym right down the street.
I don't think people realize how much of a mindset challenge it is to work in a corporate club, and you did it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it's like, what am I doing? First time I got the paycheck, I thought, oh, whoa, what am I going to do? I had 2 little kids at that time. It was like, this is insane. But when I just felt right. And I knew that wasn't my end goal, but I knew that was a stepping stone. So I got into personal training and started running the sales department. And I just loved coaching people to say, look, there is a better way. You are made for more. You've got to commit to yourself. And so then they're like, we need to pull you from personal training and like, you need to be sales. And I thought, well, no, I don't want to be, subject to, I have to sell a certain amount. And they're like, well, you're really good at it. I'm like, you just talk about it. Right.
You
So
empowered your people and then they wanted to work with you. It wasn't even a sale.
yeah,
It
it's
was,
like, I'm not selling, I'm telling them what they're capable of doing.
yeah.
So, my core values of why I got into this is what I'm doing now. And through the years of, this was when I left. I've been doing this now 17 years. Wow. Yeah, 17 years.
17 years.
Just put that together, did the quick math there. But, I realized I really, through these years, I love working with women. There is this just funk that we get into multiple times throughout our lives. There's just hard stuff that we handle differently than men. As moms too, once you have babies, everything changes hormonally, physically. You feel like your obligation and your life is always going to be dictated as a mom, and yourself is always last. So I loved help kind of opening the eyes to women to go, wait, I need to be a priority. My kids need that. My kids and my family and my spouse, they need me to show up for me. If I'm not happy, it has a huge ripple effect. And then career women who are just so focused on their job, where their health is just declining. Their happiness is just in the gutter. So I loved trying to go take a step back. Let's take a minute and go, what is important? What is your why? So many of the most basic things. But what we as women are told all the time is you can't. Rarely do we have this group where it's these women trying to empower us and uplift us and go, yeah, you can. Why can't you?
Why can't you?
Do it. Why can't it be you? Someone else is going to hit that goal. Why can't it be you? Or having people go, well, I have this reason I can't do it. I feel like my life has been full of just massive roadblocks where I'm like, oh, how am I going to get through this? But I have. So it's now speaking from personal experience and also coaching so many women for so many years that I'm now working with a company. It's called Unstoppable 365. And it's mindset, fitness, health, nutrition, personal development. So it's a community of women where we meet weekly on Zoom calls. There's a very specific topic that's discussed, more kind of just really what are the women's issues that we don't discuss that are taboo, or what are some of the things that we need to really think about? Like, what is it that's holding you back this week? And let's address it. And everyone will speak. So we all share. And it becomes this bonding community of like-minded women where we're all in the same boat. We all want to level up professionally, personally, as moms, as a friend. Like, it's crazy the variety of reasons why people are there. And we all come together for the better good of leveling up. And so it's just such an exciting time because I would be, coaching athletes and coaching clients for years to get them in shape. And then on the inside, I had a lot of clients coming going, gosh, I love that. Like, you're kind of like a life coach. And I'm like, oh, that's so cliche.
But they go hand in hand. You could change your body over and over again, and you're going to revert back to the same thing if you're not evolving your brain.
Totally. And then it's like, sometimes you think it's common sense, but it's like when you're in a hard situation or a difficult situation, or if you're in that depressive state, it's hard to get out of it without having a path, without having a blueprint and a strategy to get you out of that. So that's where through the years, I've just kind of developed tactics to help each person. And so, again, it's a program where it focuses on fitness, nutrition, mindset, personal development, and community. And so there's not anything like that out there. There's tons of coaches who will get you in shape. There's also the business coaches or life coaches. There's nothing that meshes it all together, and it all goes together. So
it's 100%. This is why we were meant to talk, because I have been developing my own program too, that, that comes into all these things. And I'm like, I don't think anybody's doing it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. So I love that you have this coming together because it's so needed. It's mind, it's body, it's soul. It's not a religion. Your soul is your subconscious, and people need to understand their emotions because it
Yes.
drives everything.
Yes. And just a lot of times women just need to be told that they're not alone and understood
Yeah.
they're not alone, because it's hard to think other people feel this way. Other people have experienced it and they came out on top, and this didn't define who they were, and this didn't just drive them into the ground. And sometimes it's one story or it's one person that you meet that is the changing effect for them and the change agent for them to completely alter their lifestyle. So, that's where I'm just so excited, because I started it months ago, and then it's been a huge work in process to really just fine tune everything and set a bunch of things up, for down the road. And everything's now just at the place where it's able to explode. There's a whole men's division. There's the female division that I lead. We have doctors involved. There's 34 employees. So it's a huge team of people on all aspects that deal with every level of what we all need as humans.
It sounds like you want to help people become whole humans.
Yes. And never stop. Like, once you reach this goal, what's next?
What's
Set
next?
another
I
goal.
love that because it's never ending. I mean, who wants to stop? Once you get on that high of like seeing what you're capable of, I would imagine your first competition, you probably, I can't tell me, like, what was that like when you accomplished it? I mean, seriously, here you are coming from a corporate job. You leave the gym, you start your gym. You're like, I'm going to go compete. And did you ever see yourself becoming Miss Olympia? I mean, 3 times?
Not a chance. Like, so I got into the sport not even knowing what I was doing. So it was a dare. Someone was like, there's no way you could do this. If you want to light my fire, just tell me I can't do it. So I had no idea what they were talking about. And I was like, I couldn't do that. Like, I don't know if they were talking about basket weaving, pickleball, like Skype. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, really? Okay. And it was a date. There was a poster in the gym, and they're like, there you go. There's your date. And I didn't know what they were pointing at. And I was like, okay. And the date was in July. And they're like, July, blah. I don't even remember the official date. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll be ready. So then conversation ended, and I turned to my friend. I'm like, what did I just sign up for? So I had no clue what I was getting into. So it was just going to be a bucket list thing. At that time, I didn't even know about fitness. I had seen it, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I was just like, what did I sign up for? And win or lose, I don't care. I want to do something, commit to it, complete it, and complete it to the best of my ability. I don't focus on the outcome. I never have, even winning Olympia. I mean, it's crazy to admit in some of these interviews, but I truly believe that is a key to my success. So I did the show, and I did figure. And then I saw these girls just over kind of in the corner, and they were jumping around and in costumes and just having this little time. And I'm like, okay, that's my vibe. I don't know who they are or what they are. And they're wearing different outfit than I am, because I was just in a bikini. And I thought, what are these girls? They said fitness. Again, knew nothing about fitness.
So you had never had a gymnastics background?
I've never done gymnastics. Now, I had 2 older brothers who dared me when I was younger to do tricks, because one of our neighbors was a gymnast. So we'd see her doing crazy flips and stuff in the yard. And so I'd take my pool raft out to the front yard and try to do tricks. So crazy as it is, I knew how to do some stuff, completely janky, no skill or technique. But I didn't know that that's what these fitness girls were doing. I'd never Googled anything. I just knew you got to do music, and it can't be over 2 minutes. I didn't know.
And you got to wear a badass costume that has a theme.
Come up with your theme, music. You couldn't have cuss words. I knew the very basic. I didn't even know you could go to NPC News Online and find the rules and the requirements. So did my first fitness show after that. Again, probably one and done was the thought. I did one figure show, then did one fitness show, and I had a blast up there. And it was the hokiest, goofiest routine, because I didn't know what you were supposed to do. So the judges came up afterwards, and they were like, that was great and all, good job. But there's actually some mandatories. You probably better check it out. So then I thought, okay, let me try another. So long story short, went to the national stage and was like, okay, and ended up getting my pro card at my second show. Didn't know what a pro was. So at that point, I thought, I need to know more about this. Like, this is awful being an athlete in a sport and you don't know the history or the background. So then I thought, okay, this is great.
But you had no limits on what you couldn't do. So you were just going for
I was
it.
like, well, I got the pro card thing. And to be honest, I did really try to up my game. And it was like, just through YouTube. I learned everything through YouTube and Instagram. I'm a visual learner. So trying to hire a coach to say, teach me how to do these things doesn't work. I have to watch it visually and watch it over and over and over. Like, I'm talking hundreds of times, where then in my brain, I visualize me doing the action. And then there's a moment that I'm ready to try it on my own. And it doesn't always go great, hence the injuries. But that's how I've learned, and just get good, cushy mats. And again, I don't recommend that methodology for others, but that's kind of how I got where I was. So by the time I got to the national stage, I was competitive enough to actually legitimately earn my pro card. But then I thought, gosh, I am just going to be a joke at the pro stage. And that's fine, because again, I have no experience. I'm just doing this for fun. I liked having that goal of, learning about your body and the science behind it and the creative outlet, So at that time, sadly, I was going through a divorce, which is never fun.
Do you feel like having this to focus on really helped you go through a divorce?
It did. And I feel like having something like this, whether it's competing or, putting yourself on a transformation goal, whatever it is, when you're going through hard times, my tip is always, it's a struggle because we lack control. And we can't control the outcome. We can't control the day to day. You can't control your moods. So you got to have something you can control. And that's why fitness is such a good outlet, because you can control if you show up. You can control, do you go to the gym, even if there's some days that you are literally crying on the treadmill, just walking because you're just dealing with emotions. Guess what? It's okay. And if someone wants to look at you and judge them, that's the
just wear your hat low and you're good.
Exactly. I'm good.
Yeah, let me deal.
It did. It gave me a focus, because I needed to still be mom for my kids. So it was a good way to control the emotions versus sitting in pain or sitting in hurt and sadness. So find something to get the endorphins going. And so that's where I was like, I'm going to probably be a really bad pro in this sport, but I'm going to, try to do my first show and have a creative outlet. And when I learn a skill and actually land it properly, I'm going to celebrate it. So having control in difficult times is one way to help you get out of that monotony and that blah feeling. So I always say that, again, it could be as simple as walking around the block in your neighborhood, just getting fresh air. You can control whether or not you did that. And in those deep, dark, hard times, it's amazing how that is such a win. A win for 10 minutes. It took you 10 minutes, but you're like, but I did it. I could have not done it, but I chose to do it. And I controlled my actions. I controlled the outcome. Now I'm going to actually feel good about it. So, that is one thing that the sport is good for. And it's not just the sport. It's like, it goes towards anything. You've got to find something you can control, because you've got to find a way to be positive in a very hard situation, because you've got to have that distraction from the negative feelings, emotions, day to day, like blah, and find something to be excited about.
I think bodybuilders are highly underestimated when it comes to their level of self-awareness and the amount of time you spend. Just like you said, you're doing cardio, you're spending all this time with yourself. You are truly getting to understand who you are at a deeper level. And I think bodybuilders are so sensitive, but for so many good reasons, right? And then people like, oh, it's the steroids, it's this or that. And I'm like, that has nothing to do with it.
Right.
I think it's people that go into fitness. It is such an misunderstood. And that's what I've loved about seeing the industry grow over the last 20 years is coming from fitness and bodybuilding. Now you've got bikini girls and wellness girls and divisions to kind of diversify and bring everybody together in it.
Mm-hmm.
As you've been talking about just the processes of mindset, I'm so excited for how your group is going to come together, and you're going to have to tell me like how I can support and be part of it, because everything you're describing, we're taught growing up, these are things you do in a business transaction, or, we're not taught how to be in society as human beings. We're taught that you go learn these things and you have to have paid education to learn communication, or, you go to therapy and that's one way of learning about yourself. But therapy is so much more than that. Therapy can be this process of something hard you go through and you gain these tools to transform into a different human.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's so much, and that's where it's like you've got to always keep your eyes open, your ears open, and be open to learning and experiencing. And like you said, being able to sit sometimes with pain, as awful as it is, that's the way you push through it. That's the way you work through it, to allow yourself to be real and feel it. And that's where you find your strength. So it's like, when you are down and it's really hard, there's only one place to go, and that's up. And that's why having the right support system too, good family, friends, or, a community like we're trying to build, right? Those are
Yeah.
the people that may not have the family support, that may not have good friends surrounding them. There's always people you've got to reach out, and mental health right now it's, gosh, there's such a massive need of attention to go there because people are struggling. Everyone has their own struggles. Everyone has their own trauma, whether they want to admit it or not. Now, some is very, catastrophic, but either way, everyone has a story too. And just allowing women to have the voice to talk about it, to share, could inspire others who may not be willing to admit that they're feeling that way, or may not understand that, oh, you felt that way, and I would have never thought you have bad days.
Well, because like you said, we're supposed to put on a face, be
Yeah,
happy all the time. And if mom or friend or wife or girlfriend isn't happy all the time, you're not allowed to be that way. There's
yeah,
something wrong. But
yeah.
I'm human. I feel emotions and I need to express them just as much as anybody. So I love that you empower that, because it's changing the paradigm on how we think as a society. And we need that.
Oh, for sure. And people like, I am such a goofy person and ridiculous. And it's like, I love shenanigans. I like to bring fun into everything. And yes, I can be professional if I have to. And probably an hour a day max. But it's like, people always say, do you ever have a bad day? I'm like, come on. Of course I do. Now,
Yeah.
I don't always show completely that side, because do I need to? Again, that's not always fun. However, I am very authentic. I am, like, if I go to work some days and people are like, hey, how are you? I'm like, oh, today is a struggle bus, but you know what? It's fine. I got this. I have, during some of my hard times in life, I created this mindset, this thing called H2G2. And I have it on my mirrors. I have it on my refrigerator. I have it in my boys' rooms and in their bathrooms, meaning I don't have to, I get to. And that is such a powerful
Wow.
mindset shift. That is crazy. It's just switching your perspective, because how many times a day, and this is something I still have to do all the time, daily, reminding myself, because it's our natural language to say, I have to. Like, hey, oh, gotta leave work. I have to go do this podcast. No, I don't. I get to. Why? Because I was so lucky that you wanted to have me as a guest on your show, or I have to go to work. How lucky are you that you have a job? People would love to, that are looking for a job. Or I have to go pick up my kid from football right now. Do you know how many women would love to have a child right now, or that maybe lost a child? So if you take that negative connotation out of the voice in your head and out of the voice that you speak, and you change that simple word from I have to I get to, it's such a powerful shift in your overall day. And so all the time, all the time throughout the day. I'll say I have to. And now people call me out on it. They're like, you said it. And I'm like,
You said it. You know what, though?
what?
Your natural energy comes from a state of gratitude. Everything you have just said the last 30 minutes is an energy of gratitude, which is the highest vibration one of the highest vibrations you can be in. And how can you not have a good, happy, positive life, even on your worst days when
Yeah.
you're not being grateful?
Right. I mean, it's crazy. And again, like people say, there you can't find something positive in everything. And
Yes, you
I've said,
can.
challenge me. Challenge me. There have been
Yes,
moments
you
like,
can.
ooh, that's a doozy. That's tough. But always, I mean, there was one day too that I was going to work and I got called out on it. And I had said, I have to, da, 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 da. I was dealing with, I had to go in and let an employee go. And
Oh,
that
that's a
was
hard
hard
one.
to go. It was needed. There was some major things, but it's like, oh, I have to go, have this conversation. And then that's when someone had called me out on it. And I'm like, okay, wait, where is the good in this situation? Because there's no good for them. There's no good for me. And then it's like, okay, take a step back and go, all right, there's always a good. So the good, again, in something very catastrophic or bad is I am lucky that, again, I have a business and I have an opportunity to change something that was very, very bad and now make it better. Now, that's not necessarily good for them, but they hopefully would learn a lesson that they can't do these things. This is not going to be acceptable no matter what business they work in. So, you've got to shift it. I don't have to go fire him. I get to go fire him because now it's an opportunity for me to bring something better into the business. But I was dreading it all day. And that morning, I just it was like, oh, I have to. And it's like, no, okay, switch it around. So no matter what you're dealing with, even people who are sick or have sick loved ones, you don't have to you get to go spend some of these last moments with a loved one that others couldn't. So it's really just reframing the perspective to go, someone probably has it worse than you right now. So if you're having
Somebody always has it
party
worse
for
than you.
yourself,
Yeah.
try to think that there's most likely not just one or two, there's probably tons who are in a worse situation. So to your point, yeah, you got to have gratitude.
What would you say is, in all of these years, you have had such a great mindset? Was there a time right before you opened your gym that you really had like you doubted that was the next step? Or when you did have that doubt, what has been your mantra to pull you out of that?
So when I opened the gym, it was crazy. It was just this feeling that it just felt right. It just felt right. There was not a fear, even though it was a very bad economy, at that time to be
Oh,
opening
yeah.
a gym.
Nobody was spending money on
No,
luxury.
yeah, that was not smart for us, right? But it was different. So obviously there's different stages in life. For me, that it was just right. So whenever you're feeling that and you kind of expect it to be a little scarier or a little riskier and it's not, that is your intuition talking, saying go and don't wait, jump all in. Now I have taken some other riskier jumps that it's like, oh gosh, is this right? And I kept waiting, considering the gym was my first business and it just felt so right and it was so smooth. In a lot of my other adventures, projects, businesses, I thought, I'm not getting that feeling. Maybe this isn't a good sign. But for me, I will never live with regret. And so I don't fear failure at all. If I go all in on something and I'm strategic about it, I know I'm doing it for the right reasons. I have passion. I've done my research. So there's like these paradigms that I look through to go,
So it's
okay,
almost like you go into it with confidence, and because you're an executor,
yeah.
you know it's going to happen because you know yourself.
And you have to have that talk with yourself to go, how big of a risk is it? I mean, you
Yeah.
have to be realistic. You can't just say, I'm going to go
And start
open
a
up
gym.
NASA and bring spaceship.
Yeah.
Like you have to be realistic. Do you have the education? Have you done the research? Do you have the backing? But if all of those things have a pretty foundational level, then it's just you sabotaging yourself. So you
Yeah.
have to have that talk of, what are you afraid of? And on my apparel line is called Fearless by Whitney Jones. And so that's where I would go, okay, let's be fearless. What are my fears right now? And I would physically write them down. So whenever I'm having that doubt or the concern or the fear, I write it down. And when you actually take the time to write it, not just think it, you write it and your eyes see it, you realize that's kind of silly. Or what is the worst case scenario? So I would address these fears and then look at what is the worst case scenario. And I actually just did this last week with my son. He was worried about, he had to max out at school, and he was really worried because he wasn't feeling as strong. So we did this exercise. And so, he's like, well, Mom, I could not hit my lift. And I'm like, okay, that's not worst case scenario. Like, what is worst case scenario? He's like, I get injured, or, I pass out. So like, we addressed all these things. But then when you actually, again, write it down and see, it's like, okay, if you get injured, God forbid that happen. We don't want that to happen, but you're going to recover. If you hurt your wrist or whatever, you're going to recover, and you're going to probably never make that mistake with your form again. So there is, again, that's really not that bad. And so again, you go through all these fears and you address it. When you physically do that exercise, it actually erases a lot of the fear. And I do it with my athletes who are about to step on stage. They get so nervous backstage, and you've probably seen it plenty of times. You may have experienced where it's like, you've worked so hard and then your body just starts holding water and you're looking awful because you're so nervous. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of falling on your face? Because that would not be fun. But guess what? You aren't the first person to ever do that. And you're going to be okay. And you're going to stand up. And eventually people will forget about it. And hopefully you can laugh. So it's like you start trying to look at, what are you so nervous about? You trying to be perfect? Guess what? You're not going to be. So get it out of your head. You're going to make mistakes. And you got to be able to laugh at it. So it's a way to really address the fears head on versus saying, gosh, I'm nervous, or gosh, I'm scared, or focusing on all the things that could go wrong. Focus on what could go right and what you would be missing if you allowed that fear to paralyze you not to take action. I don't want to live with regret. So as long as it is strategically sound and I'm excited about it, for me, if I have that excitement where, I wake up in the morning, first thing I think about, or I go to bed at night and I'm still kind of thinking about it, that's when it's right. That's when you're onto something good.
So what does a daily routine look like for you to be able to keep up on everything you do with all of your businesses?
Oh my gosh. Well, per my doctors, I've been trying to get more sleep. It's awful to admit, but ever since my boys were little, because now they're 15 and 18, so they're not little anymore.
They're not little.
But
they will always need their mom. That's what little boys, they always need their mom.
Such good boys who they're in high school. Obviously, one's graduating in 2 days from high school. They still love hanging out with their mama on weekends and having game night. And I'm like, how did I get so lucky? So I'm soaking it all up. But when they were little, I started just functioning off of 4 hours of sleep, which is awful, right? But I'm a single mom, was working away. And then as I, continued, I started opening up more and more businesses. It was like, what am I doing? But when you're excited, it gives you that caffeine boost that you don't even need.
Because you're so passionate about what you do, because you're changing lives, and you're driven. You're just driven.
Yeah. And so it's a different buzz. Especially it's different, being your own boss. I will say, to be fair, I get to kind of dictate, my workflow and what new projects I take on. So that is a little easier, because being a boss versus, having to work for someone, it does change the dynamic. But, it's prioritizing. And I always have a plan for the day, and it will never go as planned, especially with kids. As they forget this, and you got to drive it to school.
No, or you're going to the hospital because they did something, and you're like...
There's so many wrenches in the day. So I always have a plan. And my day is, as trying to book this podcast, my day is scheduled literally like minute by minute by minute. But I try to, in the morning, have some time for me. I get up and I do some cardio, walking on the treadmill, where I just breathe, listen to some music. I love memes. That's my love language. So I scroll memes.
You find memes?
Oh my gosh. I have the best
You
meme.
need some Whitney Jones memes.
There's probably some out there. I probably need to do that. Who knows? But yeah, laughter to me is like the cure all. So I love to start my day with laughter, and then I just get to it and I try to be efficient. I try to build my schedule to have some buffers though, knowing that things are going to take longer and there's going to be wrenches. But the thing is, it never, like I said, it never goes as planned. And I think as a mom, you get used to that. So it makes it easy. But I usually get up 5:30 or so, get going for the day. You know, depending, I may go to the gym because that is my one business that's brick and mortar. So it has the walls. So I work out of my gym for a lot of my other businesses. But I would say I'm at least working on 3 businesses every day, every day. So it's like wearing a hat, exchange it, boom, wearing a hat, exchange it. So, but it's just really trying to prioritize it and being present in the moment is valuable. I used to just kind of be like, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh my gosh, I got this stuff to do with this person. Hurry up the conversation. And it was awful. I found if I actually just was more present, a lot of times the conversations that came up or the issue I needed to address would be way more quick and efficient and solved quicker if I tried to just focus entirely on the issue at that hand versus trying to quadruple task, which I did for too many years. And then you also, again, your true authentic self comes out then as well. And
Yeah.
something that may have been a big issue, you're able to resolve it because they can feel it. People feel your energy. They feel your sincerity. They feel your care. So if I'm dealing with an issue with work or with, a client, something's come up, when you're really present, it actually is a lot easier to solve it and be able to move on and head to the next thing. And same thing with my kids. I schedule. It's not like I have set in my schedule for my boys, but I'm a single mom, so they do have their dad in their lives, thank goodness. And so there are some days that they're with their dad. On those days, my days are really packed because when I have them,
You're
I want
so
to be here with them.
present.
I want to be with them. I want to have the phone down. Now, sometimes that's not always the case, but to really be present because you don't get those times back. So it's just about, we always will find a way with what's on our plate. If you notice that,
You
I
do.
had 30 things on my plate one day and I'm so busy. And then I've had 6 and I'm just as busy. And I have clients who have, they have no kids, they have no job, they have a husband that provides for them, and they just have to go to the gym each day and eat healthy and kind of focus on themselves, and they are overwhelmed. And then I have someone who's working 3 jobs and they've got 3 kids and they're a single mom, and I'm like, how do you do it? So busy is a different definition, but if you look at people's lives, and I'm sure it's for you, even for me, there's times I've always been busy, but there's times that I'm hella busy. And then there's times either way,
Yeah.
it's always the same busy. So we find a way to make it work because naturally our mind will always prioritize what's important. And if you're finding that some of the important things are getting shifted down, then you really got to refocus your strategy because that's happening subconsciously. And you need to bring those important things back up and find a way to make it work.
So I want to hear your thoughts on this. I wrote a booklet called Mindful Momentum. I have this belief that how you run your business is how you run your personal life. I believe like you're talking about having a strategy and a vision. So many people that would come through our gym, I would notice they would be so business focused, but they wouldn't carry those same patterns and values and mindsets into their family life. And I'm like, isn't it one and the same? Don't you need both?
Yeah. I would think, I agree. I feel like there's just got to be, for some people, there's just that disconnect, and maybe they're not being their true selves. And, a lot of times it's like, depending on what their upbringing was or what their goals are, they are being who they are supposed to be and maybe not who they want to be. And when there's a huge disconnect, I feel that's where it really kind of begins.
Yeah, there's like a disconnect, which leads to like all these outside things. And so that's what I loved about connecting with you is when you said you had your mindset stuff coming, I'm like, I'm totally on the next wave. She gets it. So
Oh, yeah.
how can people, if they want to join, how can women join you, what you're doing online? How can they find you? What's the website for that?
So the website is Unstoppable 365, truly being unstoppable every day of the week or of the year and just continuing to level up. So Unstoppable 365. Or, I'm always available on Instagram, which is Whitney Jones _ IFBB Pro, and my website as well, which is fitwitjones.com. So I manage all of that myself because, again, like if you message me and I message you back, that's me. So
No, I noticed that too. I was like, this woman is so busy. There's no way this was just her. And it was. You were like, hey, girl. I'm all, oh my gosh.
I actually, gosh, like 4 years ago, this is a true story, had someone helping me like kind of run my Instagram. And it lasted a week because it was so, hi, how are you, Bonnie? I'm like,
Robotic.
oh, everyone's going to know that's not me because
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, what up? Da, 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 da. So I need to have my natural voice. And I thought, why? You know what? I can utilize help in other areas. But if someone's reaching out to me directly, I want them to get me directly. If you're reaching out to my business, you can get my business, or, you need help in another area. Absolutely. But there's few chances where you get that individual personalized connection. And I want to keep that. So yeah, I mean, granted, I do have tons of amazing help with just the different businesses and different projects. But when it comes to true one-on-one connection, I always want that. That's what I love. That's why when you said, oh, I have this podcast, I'm like, girl, we got to do it.
Oh, I loved it. I was like, she wants to podcast with me, Miss Olympia, who I've like watched. Oh my God.
Hey, I'm just like everyone else. I mean,
But that's the thing. You are human. And, sometimes we work up these ideas. However, your accomplishment and your accolades haven't changed who you are as a person. You are still warm and genuine and one of the most positive people I have had the privilege to meet. So thank you so much.
Thank you. See, that's a massive compliment. People say, congrats on Olympia, or congrats. And like, not to discredit, those are amazing things and I love it. But like, to be honest, my biggest pride and joy is being a mom. And that's the best job I've ever had. That's the best title I've ever won. So, again, it's great. People accomplish crazy cool things. Like I said, everyone has amazing stories. Mine just happens to be on a big stage flipping around and doing breakdancing skills that I don't clearly really know how to do.
Yes, you do.
Vibes. But yeah, I mean, those are the type compliments that really are near and dear to my heart. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much for being on. If there's one thing I've learned and have been reminded the most of throughout our conversation, it's not the destination. I know this sounds so cliche, but it truly is the journey and the steps you're taking to become that person. And you have genuinely, authentically expressed over and over again through the whole conversation that how I show up as a person matters to me more than anything I've accomplished.
Absolutely. And you get it, you get the mindset, how powerful it is. And it's just a matter of, I think truly that's why when you and I saw each other in the hallway, it's energy is magnets. And when you feel someone who's on your same wavelength and they get it and you're like, you're a strong woman. I love that. And we're vibing. And, again, no one's life is easy. Let's talk about it. It's just, you've got to continually show up for yourself. You've got to put yourself as a priority. That's not to say you spend half the day focused on you, because that's
the self-care. I'm going to need a bath and a pedicure. Yeah. I think it's remembering yourself first and not to discount anything less. And we don't have to people please to be loved when we can give ourselves everything we need. And I think that's what society wants us to think, right? If we have to depend on something outside of ourselves, like, here's an example. Before mindset becomes like popular, people are like, oh, she's into the self-development stuff. Oh, she reads Tony Robbins. And I'm like, that's 95% of how we show up in life is from our subconscious. Why wouldn't you want to understand it? Yep. 5% is only this verbal stuff. We're feeding each other energy, and that, if we don't understand that, how do you understand humans.
Yeah. Yep. And the thing is too, it's like when people are genuinely, authentically happy,
Yeah.
they got some sort of knowledge, right? So
Yeah.
even younger, I'm talking high school, I would see these women that I just admired. And they just had this strong, confident presence. They could be at the grocery store, but it's like there was just something that draws you into them, and you see them just laughing and their life seemed carefree. It's like, I want that. So I
Yeah.
encourage everyone, if there's people that you kind of tend to look to, or you follow on Instagram, or you see them at your workplace, go talk to them. Ask them, like, how are you so happy? What is your methods? Like, what is your process? How do you stay positive? You never know what's going to reflect to someone in their heart and in their brain to go, oh, okay, I'm going to try that. But
Yeah.
when we aren't there and we see something that we want to aspire to be, research it, check it out, talk about it. It could be the best compliment to someone to go, oh, really? I didn't even know I had that type of presence. So don't be afraid. I think the greatest thing is, even in the last year, I can say, I'll just see random women, strangers walking by. The amount of compliments that I hear from women to give other women's, or that I've received myself, it's never been like that. And I just got chills. Like, I don't know if you could say it. I love it. Like, just sitting in a store or at a park and watching another woman go, girl, I love your hair, or, ooh, I love your walk.
You're
So,
empowering them.
yeah. And
Empowering them.
so many women don't know how to take it. They're like, wait, are you joking, or are you being, oh, you're being serious. Oh, wow. What? Thanks. And then they don't know
Yeah.
what to say. I'm
Yeah.
one of those. I'm always like, wait, are you talking to me? Like, no, I get it, but it's just, I love that we're on this path to really help uplift. And again, I've been speaking about women so much because I think it's just my passion right now is just so on fire, but it's for everyone. Complimenting a child, God knows they need that right now. If you just see someone, or, offer a smile, if you see a kid just kind of sitting there that just looks down, the littlest thing goes such a long way, and we've kind of lost sight of that. And it's just being kind. Being kind goes a long way. And I know when I was struggling and having hard times, my mom had told me years ago, go do something nice for someone else. Like, if you're in a rut, you're having a pity party, I need you to go do something, go do a good deed, go, do something sweet for someone, go give a compliment, something very simple. And it kind of puts you back into the, okay, that was pretty easy. Why am I struggling so much? So again, I'm hopefully with this podcast, there have been a lot of little tips where people can utilize and implement, but I love that there are so many amazing women. You primarily going, okay, let's keep building people up.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the mindset, that there's so much power. And it's a buzzword right now, and I'm here for it.
I love it. Thank you so much. You guys, I've put all her resources out. You need to follow her. And if you're looking for some training, some nutrition, and especially to change your life, Whitney Jones is the girl for you.
Heck yeah. Making moves, baby.
Making moves.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, please share it and help us keep the conversation going. We can't grow without you. So, thank you in advance for your support of Power of Perseverance.